Hello everyone, and welcome to my Days of Our Lives 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Clyde demands that Ava break him out of prison. Paulina and Abe listened as Lonnie read information regarding the National Organ Transplant waiting list. Lonnie suggested she stop reading, and Paulina agreed. Abe and Lonnie committed to be there for Paulina. Just then, Marlena entered the hospital room. Paulina informed Marlena that they needed to talk alone. After Lonnie and Abe excused themselves, Paulina admitted to being afraid. Marlena listened as Paulina said that she was not feeling like the tough fighter that everyone had labeled her. She was frightened of leaving her family, friends, job, and the life she cherished. Marlena believed Paulina still had a long life ahead of her, and she reminded her that recipients of heart transplants were living longer. Marlena also told Paulina that feeling worried was normal and that she could be both scared and powerful at the same time. She assured Paulina that her family and friends were at her side, ready to comfort her if she let her guard down. Paulina voiced doubt that she could continue her battling spirit despite her physical weakness. She was also concerned about the individual who will give their heart. Marlena emphasized that someone who made such a kind, enormous gesture was not under pressure, but was just fulfilling a wish and enabling a part of themselves to go on after they died. Paulina thanked Marlena for her words of consolation. She stated she felt more at ease and understood what to do. Before leaving, Marlena reminded Paulina that they were all in this together. Abe and Lonnie waited at the nurse's station, discussing Paulina and Marlena's encounter. They both recognized that Paulina was likely seeking consolation from Marlena. Abe described their union as a family against time and expressed concern over the possibility of losing Paulina, whom he referred to as our rock, our core. Lonnie expressed thankfulness for how Abe and Paulina had reconnected despite Abe's memory loss. The love they have for one another gives me hope and reminds me that through the darkest times, we can find a way to push through to the light. When Lonnie and Abe returned to the hospital room, Paulina instructed Lonnie to retrieve her laptop. She asked Lonnie to record her last will and testament. Paulina realized she wouldn't live forever after being placed on a waiting list, so she decided to organize her affairs. Lonnie and Abe announced plans for their own wills, and Paulina jokingly referred to them as copycats. As Lonnie typed, Paulina began to dictate her will. Julie contacted Doug as she walked around the charred remnants of the Horton house. She informed him that she was looking for a key or another way to unlock the time capsule. Julie observed a shadowy figure outside with a flashlight after giving Doug her love and said goodbye. She grabbed a fire poker and raised it to attack as the stranger approached. Everett yelled, and Julie let forth her own battle cry scream. Julie lowered the poker and said that Everett had terrified her to death, to which Everett responded, "You give as good as you get." They each inquired about the other's activities at home. Everett claimed to have seen a flashlight inside and wanted to ensure that no one had broken in. Julie thanked him, but explained that when she saw him approaching, she was concerned that someone was coming to finish the job. She also told Everett about the time capsule and her efforts to open it in order to fulfill her grandfather's challenge of solving puzzles. Julie welcomed Everett's offer of help but questioned if he had something better to do than spending her evening with an old lady searching for clues. Everett stated that he liked a good mystery, which was half the reason he became a journalist. When Julie inquired about the other half of the reason, he explained that, while it may sound arrogant, he had a strong desire to spread the truth. Julie observed that Everett resembled Nick in the lantern light, and she opened up about her cousin, revealing that he had lost his way to the dark side. Everett marveled by Julie's family's fascinating stories and the house, which must have had secrets dripping from the walls and scandal dripping from the eaves. Julie changed the subject and asked about Everett and Stephanie. He informed Julie about what had happened with Jada and explained that fingerprints validated his identity as Bobby Stein. Everett described the event as a nightmare and wondered how he could have forgotten a significant portion of his life. "Unless you're lying," Julie said. Everett said he was telling the truth and that he had always considered himself to be trustworthy, kind, and hardworking. He implored Julie to believe him and stated he needed someone who didn't detest him. Julie confirmed her faith in him and told Everett the story of her uncle Tommy, who had been assumed dead during the Korean War. Julie revealed that Tommy had returned with a new face, a new name, and amnesia. Although no one in the family knew who he was at first, Julie remembered how Alice discovered Tommy's true identity by recognizing a birthmark. She mentioned that the narrative had an interesting but heartwarming ending. Julie joked that if Everett found out he and Stephanie were related, Stephanie would have to run off to a nunnery, just like Tommy and his sister. Everett acknowledged that Stephanie was upset and bewildered, and he lamented that he was losing her just as he had found her again. Julie said he had to find out the truth or he would never be free. Julie thanked Everett once more before leaving and asked him to keep her updated. When Everett was alone, he burst into a nasty smirk. Harris said, "It's you," as Goldman entered the hospital room. She reached for her revolver but fled as the nurse arrived. She wound up in the park, where she discarded her clothes and contacted Clyde. Clyde was stunned when Goldman informed him that Harris was still alive. He wondered if Stefan had betrayed him. Goldman reluctantly informed Clyde that Harris had identified her and that she had been forced to quit before completing the task. Clyde informed Goldman that they needed to expedite the timeline. When she questioned about Tripp and Wendy, he told her to fix the matter quickly. Ava ran into Rafe at Horton Town Square and asked if he had any information about Tripp and Wendy's location. She became enraged when he told her they had nothing definite, and she hinted that she was willing to breach any boundary to find her kid. Rafe urged her against doing anything rash, and Ava apologized for snapping at him. He cried out to Goldman as she went past, but the cop ignored him. Rafe got a text message from Harris instructing him to come quick. Rafe arrived to the hospital shortly and asked Harris what had happened. Harris informed him that Goldman was the mole. Rafe was stunned as Harris described how a masked assailant attempted to kill him and how Goldman arrived, startled that he wasn't dead. Rafe stated that the events called into question Xander's identity as the assassin, and he emphasized the importance of finding Goldman and her accomplices. He issued a bolo to police for Rebecca Goldman. Rafe and Harris theorized that Goldman shot the drug dealer to keep him from exposing her as a corrupt cop and to protect Clyde. Rafe felt horrible for missing the indications with Goldman, and he pondered what had prompted her to turn against them. He wanted to place another guard outside Harris's room, but he wasn't sure who he could trust. Harris requested his gun and stated that he was capable of self-defense. Rafe swore to defeat Clyde and end that monster. As Ava entered her apartment, she left a note for Steve, asking for an update on Tripp. She poured herself a drink, and then the phone rang. After searching for the source, she discovered the phone in a drawer. Clyde answered the phone, and Ava immediately complained about Tripp's threats. She promised Clyde that if anything bad happened to her kid, she would drive a semi-truck through the gates of Statesville and choke the life out of you. Clyde responded calmly that Tripp would be okay if Ava did what he suggested. He instructed her to bring your Fanny over here to Statesville without the cops or Stefan. When he said he wanted her to break him out of prison, Ava scoffed. Clyde urged she shapeshift from doting mama to Vitali mob princess and threatened your bambino will be pushing up daisies if she failed. Ava abruptly disconnected the phone and screamed in rage. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.